everybody, and welcome to GenFriends. So excited that you're here joining us tonight. With me on the panel is the archive lady, Melissa Barker. Hey, Melissa, how are you?
I'm doing great, Cheri. How are you? Still at your sons and grandchildren's place there?
Yes, I am. I'm still in Albuquerque. I did remember to turn on a light tonight, so it gets dark, but I still feel like it's kind of darker than it was last time. So, but anyway, I'm Cheri Hudson Passey from Carolina Girl Genealogy, and we are so excited tonight because we've got a special guest, and that is Jen Utley, who works for Ancestry. Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
We're so glad to have you here. Jen has come on to talk to us about Ancestry's new TV show that aired Saturday in most places, Saturday, October 8th. It is in the NBC slot, what's it called? The More You Know? Is that right? It's in with that group. And so if you're looking for it to be in the evening, it's not. It's actually during the day in most places. But just check your local listings for your NBC channels and see where you can find it. So we thought we would ask Jen to come on and talk to us a little bit about this brand new show. So before we came on air, I was asking Jen how many episodes there will be. Why don't you go ahead and answer that question again so that the viewers know?
Well, we're planning 11 new episodes. And at the end of the 11 episodes, what we're going to do is we're going to have 2 episodes that are going to be a compilation of the best of some of the others. So 2 extra episodes that have 3 stories in them.
Oh, that's great. That sounds wonderful. Now, what was the catalyst for starting this show?
Well, we're always looking for new formats and new time slots and new audiences. So this one's a little bit of a departure for us. We've been doing late primetime shows for a long time. We work on Who Do You Think You Are, Long Lost Family.
Mm-hmm.
So when this opportunity came up, it was really interesting. A Saturday morning time slot, more educational, more geared to children and families and people who like to turn on the television on Sunday morning or Saturday mornings. So it was a little different, and it also is a lot shorter than in our other programs. We're used to doing about 42 minutes worth of television that makes a 1-hour show. And this one's just over 20 minutes. So we're trying to pack as much as we can in 20 minutes, but it really gave us an opportunity to really try out a new format. And what we wanted to do was, with this format, is all of us got started doing genealogy in a different way. And all of us can tell that story. I bet you both have really great stories about how you got started doing family history. And as we looked through and did research about what are those moments in your life that make you turn and look to your past and look to your family history, can we identify what those moments are? And can we make a television show where we feature people who are going through those moments in their lives? And then give them some of that family history so that they can learn those stories of their ancestors, maybe learn a little bit more about the historical context, and then take it to an event or some sort of family gathering where they share with people what they've learned. So that's the new format we were really excited to try out.
Well, I know too, every time Who Do You Think You Are comes on, all you hear is people going, why don't they do stories about real people? I mean, it's like every other comment. They love the show, but then they also want stories about real people. And that's what this is. This is stories about real people and like you said, their interest in why they want to look up their family. So this past episode that we just had, Nadia and her mom are seeking your help on this one, and Nadia is a dancer, and I thought it was interesting that the reason she wanted to know more about her family history was because she wanted to perform a dance and take some of those elements and feelings that she learned about in her family history into this dance. I thought that was a really interesting, I don't think I've ever heard of that, that motivating somebody, but she was able to do her DNA, find out about her African American heritage, and then build a tree, which we need to say you can't build a tree that quick, but it's just a half-hour show. It takes a little longer than just 20 minutes to build your tree.
For sure.
And to get your results back, from your DNA tests as well. But yeah, I thought it was interesting that you showed her the map so she could see how those results come back and how you can get the map of the different settlement patterns for what's in your DNA. And so she was able to, and I think she was maybe a little surprised at how much African American DNA that she had. I know that she realized she had African American DNA, but she was like, wow, that's a lot of African American DNA.
Right.
Yeah.
Which she got exclusively from her mother. So
Yes.
that's one of the reasons why she was really interested in seeing that. She has spent her whole academic career studying both dance and history.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be able to put those things together, especially when she was looking at pursuing a master's degree, and one of the requirements is to choreograph a piece for your admissions. And so putting those things together was a really nice moment.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful as she performed that at the end. I was just astonished that her went back to her great grandparents, and her grandmother Martha, that grandmother, had been interviewed for the Slave Narrative project, which is on the Library of Congress. How amazing to be able to, you know, be able to read something or hear something that you're, that far back, and learn a bit about their life. I can't even imagine. I would love to find something like that, but not so much in mine. Or anything. I can't find anything that wonderful.
It's not very often that you get to hear your ancestors' stories in their own words. So anytime when we're making any of our television shows that we find something like that, we know we've got magic. And in this case, I don't know if you know Juliana Zooks. She's on my team.
Yes.
She's a great researcher. She and I have been on, worked here at Ancestry for more than 20 years together. And she was the lead researcher on this one. And the day that she found that slave narrative, she was doing Genealogy Happy Dance, and she contacted me, and that's pretty remarkable. I mean, when you think about the little pop-up that talks about, 3.9 million were enslaved at the time, and that Works Writers Project, it's just, they only interviewed 2,000 people.
2,000 people. That blew my mind.
So we often look for that to show context of someone who was in the area or doing something very similar, but to have it actually be her ancestor was pretty special.
Yeah, we do. And we tell people all the time, don't neglect a record set because you don't think, your ancestor's going to be in there, because you can get the historical content out of it. But when you hit the jackpot and your ancestor is in there, that's amazing. That's powerful to be able to have that. I liked the little pop-ups that came up too, kind of explaining a little bit more about some of this historical things and the records and that kind of thing. Kind of, so as the audience is watching, they get a little bit more information, but in a different way, and a visual just pop up. And I thought that was great.
And that's one of those elements that we incorporated because we were in an educational space now. So that's something that you might have a child in the audience that has never heard of some of these things that some of us take for granted. So that's kind of a fun element that we haven't had anywhere else.
Yeah, I liked that. I thought that was really good. I had to wait and go back and say, wait a minute, something just popped up. I need to go back and make sure I don't miss that. So make sure when you're watching, you take a look at those, because those are really interesting too, and good talking points as well. If you've got somebody watching with you that maybe isn't familiar, like you said, with some of these things that we deal with a lot, but a lot of others don't. So, and at the end I know what else I was going to talk to you about. So you had her go and talk to a historian about the music, which I thought was great, bringing that history into play. It's always important, and I know Melissa talks about this as an archivist too. You get the history of the place, what records were created, what history was made. Always find out what was going on. And so in her case, where she was trying to do something musical with dance, what better person to introduce her to than someone who could teach her about the African American dance. And I thought it was so interesting how she was saying, they didn't come over here as slaves. They came over here as doctors, and, all their professions that they had lives. They were not just slaves with empty histories. And so the dance is what kept those things alive. And she was telling her about all the different dance moves that we even have today that, you can pinpoint back to that history. And so how wonderful for her to be able to incorporate the drum, as she was learning how to do the beat on the drum and those things in her dance. And I think she did a really good job of what bit that we could see. I think she did a really good, and it was very touching, and she dedicated it to her mom. That was very, very
Yes.
touching. So I can see this is going to be like a tearjerker, as we watch.
At
It's going to,
times,
yeah.
Dr. Jewel was a real find. I mean, to find someone who was working with music and dance and African American history,
Yes.
like that just leaned right into what Nadia wanted to learn about. And she was so well spoken. I was actually on set when they filmed this, and I was just blown away with how great she was and how really moving. I think there are lots of tissues that came out on the set that day.
Exactly. And it's the host Daisy Fuentes, did I say her last name right? Yes. She got teared up as well. It was touching her. And so I don't know how much the host knows about the story and what's going to happen ahead of time, but even if those real emotions are going to touch your heart, even if okay, now we're going to give her this and now we're going to do that, those emotions are still going to get to you. So she was teared up as she was thanking her mom and as she was doing the dance. And the photo that y'all found for her, that family photo, was just amazing. There's a lot of people, and she mentioned how strong the women looked, their eyes looked in this photo. And I thought,
and I love the way they juxtaposed the three pictures of the grandmother.
yes,
Like, it was totally her, right?
oh
There was
yeah,
no
oh yeah,
question about it, but just to see her through the years aging in those photos,
yes.
it was a nice find.
It was a really nice find. It was a really nice find. So kudos to everybody on the production team and the writers and everybody who was involved, the researchers especially, because that's a lot of hard work. That takes time, people. We all know this takes time. It's not in 20 minutes. It takes a lot of time. How much time do you think is going to go into research for these shows? What would you say in estimation? Probably you might not be able to do it.
I often say when we work on Who Do You Think You Are, that it takes 1,000 hours of research to do 42 minutes of television.
Yes.
That one is very intensive, and you have to have a lot of records to tell the story along the way. This one, of course, is it's shorter format. It's for a younger audience, for a wider audience. And so, but still, to find a story like that can still take you 100 hours.
Sure.
To find something that, and we filmed for an hour and a half the family history segment. And so you've got a whole lot more that didn't even make it. To the final cut, which, it's hard to see those great parts of the stories and those really great connections not make it to the final cut, but I think that they put together a really nice final product for us.
I agree. I really do. And it's going to get people motivated. But I did want to ask about the time, because I do want people to understand that with these shows, you're seeing, the results of hours and hours worth of hard work. So it's important to know that these things take time, and some projects are going to take longer than others. And so, it's wonderful to get a name and put it on the tree, but you've got to take your time, look at what you're getting, making sure it's the correct record, and build your family tree that way. So
at the same time, the hours that you spent they're enjoyable.
Yes.
It's a hunt. It's a puzzle that's all about you. So it's a fun discovery along the way. So even though it takes time, that's part of the fun of it.
Sure. What am I going to find next? That's why we're all addicted, and that's why we do this, is because we love the hunt, we love the find. Where's the story going to take us? I think that's really behind most of it, is where is the story going to take us? Where's this journey going to lead? And what are the clues going to teach us?
Yeah, and you often can't predict where it is going to take you.
Exactly. Like these slave narratives, who would have thought that you would have found one? That just amazed me that you were able to find that. So I hope that Nadia will continue working on her other lines. I hope that as you have these people on the show, that not only are the guests that you have on and the things that you find for them, I hope they will continue researching, their other lines to see what else they can find. But I hope it encourages other people to find out. And at the beginning of the show, it talks about finding your history so you can learn who you are and know a little bit about where your path may take you, and it's so true. it's so true. We learned so many things from our ancestors, and I know so many times there are connections between what we do and what they did in their lives, and lessons learned from them that we can take and incorporate into our lives, so that our ancestors are helping us today get through the things that we're getting through. So it's just so important. So I really liked what you talked about. The concept of the show was, what is turning them on to wanting to know their family history? What is that unique thing? Because we all, like you said, we all have something that brought us into doing our family history. So that I'm gonna look forward to every week, wanting to know. Okay, why did they want to know? Why did they contact you?
Right.
So, is there a place that viewers as are watching and they think, "Hey, I'd like to do something like this"? Is there some place where they can go? Are we to that point where you want to start having people contact you, or will that be down the road? Or
It'll be down the road, whether or not we are casting for a second season, which I hope we get to do.
I hope so.
Um,
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know right now a place to send you because we're kind of in between. So.
Right. I'm sure as we watch the season as it goes, and NBC probably will renew, because everybody wants to find out other people's stories. I know that when this was being announced, that's what people were saying. Oh my goodness, a show about real people. They were so excited. So I know there's going to be people that are going to want to contact you. So just be on the lookout, and if we see something, you can let us know, and we can let people know if that that time comes that you're looking for more people. We'll get the word out as well, because
Well, for sure. Family historians for years has been saying, please feature normal everyday people. So now you've got it. So everyone watch so that we can make more of these types of shows.
Exactly. And then maybe move on to an hour show. But you know what I think? I think though the half-an-hour format and the way you've described it, and what the purpose is perfect, because it's just that little tidbit of a little bit of education and what can you do and how your history can inspire you. And I think that 30 minutes is just enough time to be able to spark people's interest and get them wanting to do the same. So wonderful
and hopefully
show.
open more doors for more formats for us.
Oh, exactly. Well, Jen, thank you so much for joining. We
Happy to do
appreciate
it.
it.
Love to talk family history always.
Exactly. You are welcome back on the show at any time if you would like to come talk about the show or anything else with us. If you've just got something you really want to talk about, we are open to lots of different topics, and we would love to have you come back at any time. Thank you so much. And you're from the Ancestry offices, right? And yeah, are you in Salt Lake, or are you in Lindy or Salt Lake? Yeah.
We're in Lehigh.
You're in Lehigh. That's right, in Lehigh. So look at that behind her, guys. You get a view of the Ancestry offices.
Yes.
Fabulous.
This is the lunch area.
All righty. See, this is where the magic starts to happen. Everybody starts creating, and it's wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you again for coming on, and hopefully we'll be able to see you again on GenFriends. Thanks so much.
Okay, I'm glad you enjoyed the show.
We did so much. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon, hopefully. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye. All right. Well, that was really fun. So next week, as I watch the show, I'll have a little bit more information. I think we all will, about the purpose of the show, and what their point is and what they're trying to get across. And the more genealogy TV we can have, right, Melissa? The more
That's right. That's
better.
right.
And speaking of genealogy TV, we are going to move on to day 3 of Relative Race. We're on to day 3. Another very emotional episode. Another episode of the team supporting one another. And they're making it very clear that they are united in this journey and supporting each other in this journey, and want the best for each other in this journey. And I think that's really bringing another element to the show that we haven't had before. Not that they haven't cared about each other in the past, but there's just seems to be something special between these 4 teams that we haven't seen before. So we had Team Green, who was starting the day with an advantage because they had won day 2. And Melissa, do you want to tell us about what their advantage was about being able to call their relative that was their
Wasn't
dead.
it that, yeah, they could call their talk to their relative
Yes.
and get step-by-step directions on how to get there.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
would need that.
oh, me too. Me too. Especially when you're, using no GPS and using maps. So they started out in a pretty good place, and they were leaving from Chris's cousin's house, and the little 12-year-old daughter of the cousin prepared a poster for them that was so cute. It was
That was so sweet.
Wasn't that sweet? Just, something to inspire them for the journey. I thought that was really, really sweet. So they really went into the day feeling, charged up. And excuse me for a second, I dropped my cheat notes. Got a fan going up
That's
ahead
okay.
of me, and they just kind of fell to the floor. So, Ray, with Team Red, started out the day, feeling still so sad. It came on showing him on day 3. He was sitting on the porch of his cousin's home, just still.
It's going to take him a long time to if he ever
exactly
comes to terms with that.
I agree with you. If he ever can. And
I think I think he went into this thinking he would find his mother.
I think so.
And get answers. And so he may still get his answers, but I think he wanted to hear it from his mother.
Right from her mouth. And that question, and he said it as he's sitting on that porch. I want to know why. Why did she give me up? Why was I the one that she couldn't handle? Why me? Why was I given up? And so I can't even imagine the hurt that would cause to know that, you had this brother older than you, and you were the one given up. And I'm sure, I mean, it probably just had something to do with the fact that she really felt like she couldn't give him the life that she wanted to give him. Could have been financial, emotional.
I'm sure we're going to find out, probably.
Sure we will,
but right now it's just really hard.
Oh, it would be hard. I think about if I was in that position, and how terribly difficult that it would be. It'd be so difficult. Team Blue left. Anitra was given copies of all the photos. Her cousin copied everything and gave her all those photos. So I thought that was really a beautiful thing. They're really receiving some really heartfelt gifts from their relatives as they leave. And then of course we got Team Black, and they're just like, we're old and we can't get up.
That would be me.
That'd be me too. I'd be like, oh no.
Yep.
It's time to get up. I just thought that was really funny that they were but they said they were going into this day 3 with a strategy of asking more than one person for directions.
Yes.
I thought that was a really good strategy because we've seen time after time through the different seasons that somebody will give them directions and they're not the right directions. And so I think that's a good strategy to, and they said if 2 people tell us the same directions, then we know we're good.
Yep.
So funny. I thought that was really funny. So we've got all the teams out. Did I get them all? Yes, right. Yeah, I did them all. Got all the teams out racing, and I love this challenge. I thought this challenge that they had to go to was so hysterically funny. What do you think, Melissa?
I thought it was hilarious. But I thought, I don't know, being an archivist, reading handwriting, I don't really listen to a lot of children, but I did think of you. I thought all of your children and grandchildren. I thought, oh, she could do this with no problems.
I had to. You know what I did? Well, it was called Goo Goo Blah Blah. What they did was they had a video of children, toddlers, saying things, and it progressively got harder. And your own toddlers, you get to the point where you can understand them and nobody else can.
Yeah.
Oh, some of these kids, it was difficult. I got to the point where if I would close my eyes,
yes,
it was easier than trying to watch their mouths because
and a couple of the contestants did that. They would close their eyes. I think that probably made it better.
And they were saying like really crazy phrases too, so it wasn't even like they were just.
I wondered about those phrases because they're talking about that at this age they're using bigger words, and I thought, I think those words are being fed to them because that would not come out of their brains. I just don't think.
I don't think so. But I guess they had to make it as hard as possible, so
Yeah.
it'd be a real challenge. But again, I was watching it with my grandkids, and I said, we should do this at our next reunion. We should find some
that would be
little
a good
ones.
game.
And they were so excited. They are so into the show. It's so cute. And just the fact that, we're getting on and talking about it, they think it's so fun. And so they watched this episode last night, and then they went back, and they are on season 2, so they're trying up through all the seasons.
Okay.
So it's really fun. It's really fun to do it with them. But yet another family reunion game. So I told them, as they're watching the different seasons, write down what they like, the different games.
Yeah.
Then in 2 years when we have our next reunion, we'll revisit that list and see what they want to do. So and I said, then I'll put y'all in charge, and they were so excited. So
that'd be great.
So thanks, Relative Race. We're gonna have some great games. But that was hysterical. Now, Team Green, of course, once they got through their challenge, they could just pick up their phone and they could just call their relative and get step-by-step directions. So they were in the clear.
Yes.
They just did it. Team Black didn't have too hard of a time getting there, but I'm telling you, Blue and Red, both of them were having.
They had trouble.
Oh, they were having such issues trying to get back.
But I have a question, because I said, this is my first season,
right?
And actually, last night was of course they were only on we're on day 2, or day 2 was last night. Day 3 last night. Okay.
Day 3.
Right. And so last night was the first time my husband actually sat through an episode, and I kind of filled him in on, they have a flip phone and they have paper maps. And you have to understand that my husband for over 20 years was an insurance adjuster, which meant he went to homes all over the state of Tennessee, and he had used paper maps back before there was GPS. So he is a map person. I am not. And so as we're watching this, he looks at me and he goes, I thought you said they had paper maps. And I said, they do. He said, well, why aren't they using them? And I said, well, maybe they don't have a map that has the street. And he says, if they have maps, they should have the streets on them.
Exactly. You're exactly right. But I think part of it too is, even if they had looked at a map and that part just didn't make the real, it was cut. And we
maybe
didn't see
not.
it, that could be it. But I think that so many of them are trying to use a shortcut instead of studying the map. I think they are asking people. So I think they should take what Team Black said, ask 2 people. If by the second person they don't know what to tell you, you need to get out that map. And
you
really
do, because I've noticed that they didn't really, a lot of them aren't using the maps to their full potential. Like I said, though, I haven't seen the maps. I would think if they're giving them maps that they would have the information on them to help them.
Yes.
But, they were asking people, and people kept saying, we're not from here. We don't,
right.
we
and
don't
that's
know.
The risk you take.
If
you decide to ask people instead of look at your map, that's just the risk you take, where sometimes you can ask that male person and they'll lead you right there. And so you would have wasted time looking at the map. So I think you need to figure out if I ask, 2 people and they can't tell me, it's time for one of us to look at a map and maybe the other person to go.
Right.
So I don't know, but I agree with you. Sometimes you see them pulling those maps out and then arguing, no, the map says this way, the map says that way. So
I can tell you around here that if they come here and they start asking people about where something is, they're going to get directions like, well, where the Brown store used to be. So it's not going to help them.
Not going to help them. And I think sometimes you're right. When they go into these smaller towns, that's what they're getting. They're getting, I don't know, because I don't know that street name.
Right.
Or I know it from the street name it used to be called. I drove around Albuquerque today, of the place where I used to live here. About 15 years ago, and I decided that I was going to go drive to my old house, and from there drive down to where I used to board a horse. Well, the roads were so completely changed that I had to pull over for a few minutes, figure out where I was. They had built extended the mall right in the middle of where I used to drive. And so if somebody, had asked me, I would have said, well, you go down there and turn around the corner. Well, no, not now. So, I had to backtrack, and I finally found it without a map, without the GPS, just by the mountains are this way, so I'll go this way. But I think that's part of the problem they're facing when they're asking people. And so my heart was really going out for Team.
They even went to the, I forget who it was. They went to the mail truck, and they had no clue.
And that's typically who they can ask, or the fire department or a policeman, somebody like that can help them. But I really felt for them. a funny line that Anitra said when they were trying to do their selfies. And I know Team Red had trouble with their selfie going through. They just,
Yeah.
it was
Oh,
spinning,
yeah.
spinning, and a little bit for Team Blue. And she said a watch phone never beeps.
That's right.
She says, quit looking at the phone because it's never going to go through.
And was it her or who was it that said, and they may mention it at the very beginning, but trying to get a signal, and she said that she works for I don't know. She said a telecommunication. So I'm thinking like a major brand or something.
Yeah.
And she says, "This is ridiculous. I work for a telecommunications, and I can't get this to work."
Can't get this to work. It's just that old technology, and we're so used to things going so fast with our internet and all that. So, so they finally get to their homes and their relatives, and Team Green goes flying in because they get there quick, and it is Deshay's uncle David.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that was a shocker to be so close. But then it was really let me down when he couldn't or just really didn't know
which one
how
of his siblings,
he was her uncle. Yeah,
he didn't know which one of his siblings would be her parent.
I mean, he mentioned that he's not been close to the family or not been, but I'm thinking to myself, can you, I mean, I'm asking because I'm not a DNA expert. Right. Can they tell he is an uncle just by the DNA test?
Well, they did say that he was the one they matched when Relative Race was looking into their matches. That's who she matched with, was him. So that's when they started building out the story.
Right, but I'm saying from the DNA test, can you tell it's an uncle as opposed to a cousin, a second cousin, a great uncle,
Depending on the centimorgans and how close they match.
Okay.
You should be able to get a good, and I'm not a DNA expert
either,
so I don't want any comments. Blah, blah, blah. I'm doing my best with the DNA, but you would think, here's what I would have done. They must have been really estranged, unless they asked him not to.
I'm thinking that they asked him not to.
Yeah, I would have picked up that phone and I would have said, y'all, look, she's coming. Now, which one of you had this little girl,
Well, then at the end, at the end of the show, when they kind of went to all of them at the end, and, Deshay was sitting up in bed with her list. And she was saying,
process of elimination.
Right. And so she was working it.
Yeah, she's working it. She's understanding that, okay, I've met this one. Nope, I've got,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I hope.
She's a pretty smart cookie. I wonder if she'll put it together before they.
And she might. And maybe that's why they decided they wanted to keep Uncle Dave.
Yeah.
But he gave her a book, a family history book on the
Love
family.
The pictures. Did you see the pictures?
Oh my gosh! Just
went back to her third great grandfather.
Yes. So he said this is the only copy of this book.
And
given it, and he wrote the most wonderful prayer dedication to her in it and read it to her. So that was beautiful. That was really beautiful.
Was Deshay, it was interesting because she met her uncle, Dave, but she met her great-great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, and great-grandfather.
Yes, she did.
And so
she did.
She met a lot of relatives at that one visit.
Certainly did with that one. And then, she's saying, now I can go through this book and read about my family, and she'll meet even more. Yep. So that was very special. That was a precious book. Mm-hmm. It was the last copy. There were no more copies. That was it. And
I wonder if it wasn't her uncle's copy that he was given to her.
That's what I thought. Mm-hmm. I'm figuring he passed along his. That's kind of how I read into it, that he was passing along his copy.
Yeah, because those family genealogies like that, they only print so many usually. Sometimes just for the family or whatever, and they don't ever get reprints. And so I'm wondering if it's his copy that he gave to her, which would be very sweet.
Very, very, very sweet. Team Black, when they went to, theirs was a fun story. When they got to their relatives, it was JD, and JD's looking for, his biological father. But this relative, I love it when they say, now whose relative are you? And my little grands were saying, well, wait a minute. Aren't they only going to be his? Because he's looking for her. And I said,
I thought that at the beginning too, because nobody told me.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen any other ones.
Yeah. And I said, no. They both took DNA tests. So it was Jen's first cousin who knew and loved her dad. And I'm thinking, why don't you know this first cousin? That was very interesting, because I know I don't have very many first cousins, but I know my first cousins. So, they may have moved away when she was little, but she remembers Jen's dad and was talking about how much she loved him. But she came in and brought them some letters, which I was thinking about you, Melissa, as she pulled out that letter from the uncle that had died in World War II. And it was a letter that he'd written back to his parents. And I thought those things are so precious. And I know you guys in your archives have a collection, don't you, of World War II?
We do. We just actually did a program this past year about World War II. So we've got been able to get a lot of memorabilia. Yeah.
And
of course, and I have to confess too.
Yes.
I mean, because since I am a newbie at this, but I have to confess that when they when they get to their ancestor and they ask the question, "Whose ancestor are you?" They've done it twice now. I think they've said that it is not the adoptee's ancestor; it's their spouse's ancestor. I'm a little disappointed because I really want to get on the show here and figure out who these people's parents and stuff are. Just saying.
I get you. At least when they're getting to these people, they have fun things to show them, So, I think it's kind of nice for the other partner, but I think they've been more than willing to just have it be, finding the biologicals. But what I thought was really interesting was, because this uncle had died in World War II, he was a recipient of the Purple Heart. And then it turns out that Jen's dad has the Purple Heart, and she never knew about it. So
and the way they talked, it's like her father's living.
Yeah, so maybe.
And so she says, "And your dad has the Purple Heart," and she's like, "Oh."
Well, think about that. There's like that in a lot of families. If we don't ask questions, we don't know what our family has and what they don't. And we see this time and time again on these genealogy TV shows. They don't know that they had, even, a couple of 2-3 generations. They don't know that somebody fought in the war. They don't know any of the stuff.
And something just happened this weekend with me that I did that. I called and I asked. I went to a little community reunion thing on Saturday, and it's where my husband's family kind of grew up or were. And so there was something said, some people that were there were talking about my husband's grandfather. And so I listened and we talked and stuff. Well, then they told me some things about, he was in World War II, which I knew that. And he played the banjo, which I knew that. But the guy who was talking to me told me that Chris's grandfather, when he was living, told him, and he couldn't remember which way it was. He said either he sent for his banjo to be sent overseas, or he sent his banjo from overseas back home, either purchased it. He wasn't really sure what had happened. So I thought, okay, I've not heard this before. So when I got home, I picked up that phone and called my husband's mother and said, "Hey, do you know anything about this?" And she was like, "No." So she's going to talk to her brother, who's older than her. And so it's that, but that's just it. If you have any family members still living, you need to talk to them first of all. And they're not going to tell you everything, because it's interesting. I've talked to some of the few relatives that are left. When I hear something or find a record or something, and I'll call them up and I'll say, "Hey, did you know this?" "Oh, yeah." And then they'll tell me, and I'm like, "But I've talked to you hours on end and you've never told me this."
Right. Exactly.
So you have to continue to talk to them. Even if you've sat down and had an extensive interview, you still need to pick their brains, because it's still in there.
And I know a lot of times, and you've suggested this, and I've suggested this, and other panel members have suggested this. Take the photos, take the documents, take something visual,
something
for them
tangible.
To see
that
can trigger, something in their memory. Because I know a lot of times I get, "Well, I didn't know you were interested in that."
Right. And you're like, "How many times have I told you?"
Exactly. So I'm sure Jen was probably, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know." I've got my grandfather's Purple Heart that was given to him, after he died in World War II. So, and see, my grands that were here didn't know that, and so that was an opportunity for me. I've got a photo of it. I did a blog post about it, so I was able to pull it up, and they're like, "Whoa, we didn't know that." So I'm like,
I wonder if after that, though, I don't know what they're allowed to do, but I wondered if she got on the phone with her father and said, "Hey, I just found out you have this Purple Heart."
Yeah, she probably had to wait till she got home, because I don't think they're allowed to make any phone calls. But I'm sure that was.
Yeah, that's gonna be one of the first questions she's gonna ask when she gets home.
I'm sure. I would. How come I didn't know about this? And what else do you know? What else?
Exactly.
Do you have? Exactly. Yeah. Anitra, let's see.
Oh, that was sweet.
Yeah. So she finds another cousin that belongs to her father's family, her Harville ancestors, that line of the family. And this was a cousin.
A first cousin.
A first cousin.
Yep.
A first cousin who was actually taken in by their grandmother.
Their shared grandmother.
Their shared grandmother.
And she found out for the first time that someone in the family, they knew about her. I mean, you know, they're all wondering if anybody knew about them.
Exactly.
But that they even mentioned that her grandmother she told her that her grandmother tried to adopt her.
Yeah.
She didn't know why she couldn't or didn't.
Yeah.
But that she did, which I think really helped Anitra with some feelings or some questions that she had.
Yes, it had.
Did anybody know about me?
Right, it had to fill a little bit of that hole in her heart, you know.
And her cousin kept telling her, "You were wanted.
You were wanted," and she said we would have grown up as sisters.
Yes.
You know, as sisters. But I thought it was really sweet of the cousin to say to her, "But things happened the way they should have." You know, you had the family that you had, you grew up well, because Anitra's not saying, you know, there was a problem with my, you know, family. She's very grateful that they adopted her and she had a good life. And so I thought that was very kind of her cousin to say to her, things happen the way they're supposed to happen. And so you were raised in the family that you were supposed to be raised in. And they're connected now.
Now her foster family was not very nice.
Her foster family was not very nice. That as a.
But she sounds like she doesn't remember it, because you noticed that she said they tell me that
they kept her in a chair, and so she couldn't really even walk.
Yeah, she's so I get the feeling that she doesn't actually remember it, which is probably a good thing, because she says they tell me, you know, that they had to teach me to walk because of what they did to me.
And she
so
had
that's good.
Eating issues as well, because when kids don't get fed, as a former foster parent myself, made me so angry to hear.
That one makes me mad. Every time she talks about it, it makes me mad.
Makes me so angry that. Well, anyway, I won't even go on that tangent. But anyway, but they do. If kids aren't fed, they have food issues the rest of their life. They have hoarding issues, even though they know that there's plenty of food. They will hoard it, or they will eat themselves sick, or whatever. So she. Well,
you know, this is maybe if it's not really off topic, but talking about that particular thing. You know, when the concentration camps were released and freed, the military people were told, don't feed them, because they hadn't eaten in so long that feeding them could have killed them.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when she said that, that came to my mind. I know she was not in a concentration camp.
Right.
But, you know, it came to my mind because I had been recently watching something about that. And and it was amazing to me that this soldier was talking about how I had food and I could not feed them because they told us not to feed them because of their bodies, and that their bodies couldn't handle it. But so to hear Anitra talk about, it's just, you know, it makes me mad.
It makes me mad too. So I'm very grateful that the family who adopted her, gave her, you know, helped her to work through those issues and give her a good life and get her into a place where then she could be on Relative Race.
That's right.
Meet her family. And so.
And the teacher, her grandmother was a teacher.
Oh my goodness. I love these connections when they come. I love these connections. So once again, she's got a place. She was wanted, and questions are being answered. And then we move on to Team Red. And I was trying to do the saddest story last. It's just so sad. So he finds his cousin Henry, who shows him the photo of his brother.
The brother that they kept, and he gave him away.
He gave him away, and there's his mom. There's the brother.
Yep.
And that had to have just been heartbreaking for him. I mean, you could tell. And he says, you know, and there was a picture of the brother in his football uniform, and he says, I've got a photo similar.
He almost went to the same college.
Yes. Can you imagine if they had found each other like that? But he says, I have a photo, almost the same pose, you know, and what made him better than me? See, he's still struggling with what made him better.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know what they're going to do in the next episodes, but I hope it's something that can fix that or help that. I don't know that will ever be able to be totally
No.
fixed,
I hope
because
that
that's
they
so
can,
deep.
right. I hope that they can find the brother, and I hope the brother can help answer some of
That's
those
what I'm
questions.
hoping for.
I wonder if the brother even knows that Ray even exists.
I'm hoping
You
he's
know?
one of the relatives that come along in another episode, because, for his cousin to show him that picture. And then he says, this is what he looks like today. And I thought, oh, okay, let's go out the door and go find him.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm thinking maybe he's going to be in another episode.
That's what I'm really hoping, because I'm hoping that that's where that healing will come from, is from this brother.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know if the brother even knows that Ray exists. We don't know if he can answer him in any way. We don't know if the mom ever said, this is why I had to do this. I'm kind of hoping that the mom did, because then it's not her exact words, but it's words coming to him from his brother.
Yes.
That
Because he needs healing so bad.
He does need the healing. Absolutely needs the healing. So I'm
but
really
his cousin
hoping.
was very gracious, and and I could tell that he really cared. This was kind of amazed me, like I said, as being a first-time watcher, of two things. One, how that everyone is just so caring and accepting and loving. But the other thing is it's amazing to me, and I don't know, it just seemed amazing to me, because I don't know, I'm the only one in my family that does anything with genealogy. But all these people that they find, for the most part, have a pretty good genealogy interest, even aside from just this.
Oh, yeah, this season.
I don't know about previous seasons, so you can talk to that. But it's like they pull out letters, and they pull out scrapbooks, and they pull, I've been doing genealogy for years, and you're just like, wow, how cool is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They can, they're so good about answering some questions and being able to, help them, versus, well, we're connected. We're really not sure how yet. Because sometimes, that's
right.
That's it. And they're learning together, which is good too. But yeah, this season is just so many genealogists, so many people who have things for them, that's been so exciting.
I didn't know, like I said, if that was normal or if this is something different for this season.
I think there's more than normal on this season.
Okay, good.
It's just more, to me, it's more than normal. And I think the viewers will say that there's more than normal family historians that they're meeting up with. So which is very exciting, and it's got to be exciting for them, because I know I would love to get that phone call saying, hey, you've got somebody coming to meet you, and I could pull out all my stuff. Somebody who would roll their eyes, and be really interested in what I was trying to tell them. I'd be thrilled. So and then, of course, we've got to get to that point of the night. I mean, we love the Skype call. Love seeing them all together, but not so much. We can do without the results, but it is relative race.
It is.
But though, showing those bands, and like I said, I left my bands at home. So I can't give any solidarity and support. I can't believe I left them at home. Next week I'll be home and I'll be wearing my bands. So, they love listening to each other and who they've met, and they love turning those computers to introduce and Dan's questions about who did you meet, and it's just also heartwarming, that part. I just love that connection that they're all getting, and of course then he's got to start telling them who came in first. Well, I guess we all figured that Team Green would come in first, right? Because they had that advantage.
Well, yeah.
They had that advantage, and we learned that whoever comes in first for day
doesn't
3,
have to take a city selfie.
Yes.
They don't have to work that phone.
Oh, and speaking of phones, again, Team Black, JD cannot text. Flip.
So funny.
He's texting, and he texts the wrong team.
It's like the comic relief of the show. It's great.
You gotta have some comic relief. So that's hysterical. And I just want to say, JD, it's really okay, because I wouldn't be able to do it either. I have a hard time texting on my gigantic Android Note, and it's big, and I have a hard time.
That's right.
We all feel for you when you're trying to text.
Yes.
Anyway, so as we get the times, Team Black comes in first. What? And they're like, what? They were very shocked.
3 minutes. It was 3 minutes.
Wow. So the texting didn't slow them down. The selfie didn't slow them down. They did a really good job. So
they did a great job.
Yeah, and they could sleep well. Maybe when day 4 comes along, we watch it, they won't get out and they're not so tired because they didn't have any stress. They could just go right to sleep. But unfortunately, our poor Team Red got their first strike. So and I don't want anybody to get a strike. But I kind of like when it evens up, so that nobody has to go home. It's like, okay, Okay.
Well, it's a game
Yeah,
still, and we have to keep it in mind that there's a prize at the end.
there's a
So
prize at the end. There's a prize at the end. And Melissa, this is so different because every other season, they would get a day 10 benefit if they won.
a what?
A day 10 benefit, meaning something that they could use on day 10 to help them in whatever challenge they were going to do to win. It gave them some kind of benefit.
So when would you get the benefit?
When you won, you found out you won that night when you came in
Oh,
first.
so they're not giving any benefits?
They're not giving any
They're giving benefits for the next day, but nothing for the day 10.
For day 10.
Okay.
Now, if anybody has heard Dan, and I heard an interview with him on Extreme Genes.
I listened to that.
Thanks. Melissa gave us this, the link, and we'll put that link in.
Yeah.
We'll share it. We'll put the link in. Dan says, they started at the Speedway. It is a race. He said, we're going to end as a race. So I'm thinking, oh my goodness.
So you're thinking maybe day 9 that they're going to give the winner that day 10?
I don't even know if they'll ever get a benefit. I mean, I don't know. Because
they
could collect them every time they won.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so some of them would come in with, 3 or 4 day 10 benefits. Some would come with none.
Oh, okay. They're not doing that this year.
They're not doing that this year. So it's going to be really interesting because there'll be a reason when we get to day 10, we'll see, there was no way to, maybe give them a benefit, or, maybe they just decided to change things around a bit. So it's not the same every time. So, but that's something that's different this year is they're not giving those day 10 benefits. But now I'm starting to think, I wonder where they filmed day 10, and if it's another racetrack, if it's what would be really funny is if they went to one of those amusement park ones, that'd be really fun and race in those. But I guess we'll find out on day 10. So, but so I'm
very good episode. I enjoyed it again.
A really good episode.
And and I'll tell you, because I know that when I first started watching it, the first episode, I was like, well, I could do without the gaming part, just get to the genealogy part. But now I'm starting to get into the gaming part. So
now it's making a little bit of sense, and it's so fun, and I think it helps you get to know the teams. I think it
does.
It helps you get to know the personalities, and it is comic relief too. So especially this last one that they had. So yeah, I'm wondering if the toy companies are watching these and thinking we could come up with a toy that would do that. Yeah, we could sell it as a game.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but I'm still it's like every episode, Relative Race put out a book of all the challenges, the things that people can do at home. We need a Relative Race family reunion.
Hey, well, there you go.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Do it.
You're good.
We're all waiting. I think that would just be fabulous. And I've said this for several seasons now. They still haven't done it. But we have mentioned several times that we would like a reunion show. And on that Extreme Genes,
he talked about that.
He talked about it, y'all. He talked about getting in touch with former teams. Now, I'm hoping that means that they're going to actually do a reunion show, and it won't be like something on the website, this is what they're doing now, or this is what they're doing now, because we want to see them. We want to see what they're doing. We want to see some clips maybe of them going back to see their relatives and what they've learned since. Go ahead,
yes.
You can say something?
I was just, because I don't know, at the end of the show, I know that they win $50,000 and all, and they know more about their families and stuff. Right. Do they show anything else? I mean, it's like with the reunion show, could they show them meeting more family or talking about what other information they have found? Things like that would be great.
That would be great. Say like season 2's Team Black. That everybody was devastated when they got their third strike because Joe was trying to find his dad. I mean, he found his dad, but we were hoping for more people, but they got that third strike. It would be fun if some of those teams that got that third strike, I mean, we're devastated when any of them get that third strike because we want to see their journey. If they would show us the rest of the journey, if they would say, yes, after we left the show, we got to go meet this person and this person.
Yes, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah. That would be wonderful. And I know that for many of the teams, after the show was aired, they go back and go visit these people again and go hang out with them again and spend some more time. And so, well,
maybe that's coming.
Yeah. So I'm really hoping that they will film a reunion show that we get to see and not just a little snippet here or snippet there, maybe on the website. So, reunion show. And we want the show and we want the book. We want the family reunion game book, Relative Race Family Reunion game book. Oh, come on now. We don't ask for much. We love the show. And once again, Melissa, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. We loved talking with Jen Utley tonight. That was wonderful. So look at your listings, your NBC listings. For me and Mountain Time Zone, it was on at 11 a.m. on NBC. So just check and see when that segment of NBC's The More You Know is on. You also can watch it. I wasn't able to watch on Saturday. I was able to go to NBC.com and watch it on their website. So if you miss it on those Saturday mornings, it can be really, really busy for a lot of us. You can go watch it. And we will see you again next time for Day 4 of Relative Race, and be prepared for more crying and more relatives and more family and more family. I love how Dan always says tomorrow is another day, and this is about family. Tomorrow will be another day of family connections. So wouldn't that be great if all of our next days were full of family connections?
Yes. Yes.
That would be fabulous. We try. We try. But some days are harder than others. So thank you, Melissa. I appreciate you being here tonight. And with that, that's a wrap up of this edition of GenFriends, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.